Although this is heating things up, the cover of the New York Post today talks about how in the last 4 straight presidential polls, nationwide polls, this guy right here, the presumptive nominee, Donald Trump, is either leading or is surging to the point where he's making up ground nobody thought he could at this point. What do you make of this?
Yeah, you know, listen, you look at the polls, they're definitely within the margin of error. And if you look at the Real Clear Politics average, it's essentially tied. It's just tied. At this moment, you know, national polls this far out, you have to put a caveat in there, and the fact that Donald Trump has already won essentially the GOP nomination, and Hillary Clinton is still fighting Bernie Sanders on the trail, even though that she has the numbers. You know, she could see a couple-point bump after kind of sewing up officially on the trail that race. But what you're looking at is a divided country, as we knew, roughly 47% for each party to begin with, and they're fighting over, you know, the remaining 3-4% to get over the top.
You know what's so interesting is it's been, you know, even if you can say, okay, these polls are so early, it's only May, going into June, I'm used to seeing stuff like this in July, after the conventions are done. I'm not used to seeing it after the presumptive nominee becomes the presumptive nominee. So there is somewhat of a trend going on right now, and I think the biggest surprise is the Republicans seem to be coming together quicker than anyone thought. Some said not at all. From 72% of Republicans supporting Trump, now well into the 80s.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing what we predicted, which was each party is looking at the presumptive nominee and the other party as the unifying force, not necessarily the person or the policy issues, but the opposition to the other presumptive nominee.
I'm better than that
guy. Really what matters is those electoral college states, the swing states, and you're seeing Trump perform a little bit better than previous nominees in those as well.
Although Hillary Clinton's people say, hey, we got Georgia and Arizona in play.
All right, Brett, over the weekend, Hillary unveils her new slogan, Stronger Together. We were all listening to the interview this morning. How many times does she use the phrase? Did we count?
I forget. Let's watch.
Look, we are stronger together. We are stronger together in facing our internal challenges and our external ones. We are stronger together if we work to improve the economy. We are stronger together when we have a bipartisan, even nonpartisan foreign policy. We need to unify the country. We are stronger together when we act on a set of plans and priorities that will redound to the benefit of the American people.
Okay, so she got in 5 stronger togethers. It's puzzling because how many slogans have they been through? This looks like the 3rd one. When the campaign started, it was Hillary for America, then I'm with her. In 2008, it was Solutions for America. Now we're stronger together, Brett.
Yeah, well, she's stronger together, but the Democratic Party is not together, and that's a problem for her. And if you look at Bernie Sanders still campaigning hard against her in California and other states for June 7th, he's pointing out how in the same polls we were just talking about, he does much better than Hillary Clinton does against Donald Trump. In one poll this weekend, he leads Trump by 15 points. Now, whether that plays out in a general election, who knows, but at least in the polls, that's his pitch on the stump. Stronger together, she's trying to attract disenfranchised Republicans and Bernie Sanders voters, but she's got a long way to go before kind of sewing things up in Philadelphia.
Bernie didn't get the message, did he?
No, he didn't, and I'm stunned to see that he is endorsing the opponent of Debbie Wasserman Schultz in our primary and says if I become president, she will not be the Democratic nominee, she will not be running the DNC. Man, that is not somebody looking to throw in the towel in any way, shape, or form, and I'm wondering how that plays into a possible debate on Fox coming up, Brett.
Well, we hope that it comes together. I mean, Bernie Sanders, for all we thought, Bernie Sanders was going to be the person who held out. He signed on right away, and we're still waiting for official word from the Hillary Clinton campaign. They have told us one is coming, and we hope to hear today.
Yeah. All right, Brett, once upon a time, if anybody looks at the Bret Baier resume, you see that Bret Baier was a White House correspondent, Fox News Channel. Richard Benedetto wrote a great op-ed within the last week that has been published by, I believe, the Wall Street Journal. He used to be at USA Today. And he talked about, you know, the fact that 2/3 of the country feels we are on the wrong track. We got problems with the economy. We got trouble with security. And yet the president really isn't taking any heat from the press. You know, instead, what's published? Pictures of the president blowing bubbles like this. Fawning pictures from the mainstream media. Richard Benedetto, who I'm sure you've crossed trails with, used to be at USA Today at the White House. He says this White House is genius when it comes to managing the press corps. Watch.
Well, I think he's... Oh, go ahead.
More successful at doing it because it is able not only to use social media to get its message out above the White House press corps, but it also has a White House press corps that's younger and a little more friendly and probably agrees with a lot of the president's policies. I've heard many stories about how reporters have been chewed out personally by people inside the press operation or inside the White House staff itself, and actually phone calls to editors complaining about the reporting being too tough.
Okay, you were saying, he was talking about how if some reporter puts out a tough story on the White House, the phone lights up and it's somebody from the press unit and they just chew your ear for half an hour.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the case with the last press secretary, and the one before that was active on that front as well. I think Josh Earnest has a bit of a different rapport with reporters. I do agree with some of that in that this president has really capitalized on the social media talking directly to the American people. I do think that this White House, like most White Houses, is trying to spin and put out these good images of the president, and they often do look at the shiny thing over here if there's something bad happening.
Right.
And they do it pretty well, to be honest with you. As far as everybody signing on, you know, this president has had some elements of this presidency that he got some bad press.
Right. We just got to find a microscope and we'll find it. Yeah, Brad, it's just amazing because they've all been called out in that Ben Rhodes column where they're all 27-year-olds who haven't known, who don't know anything. But I know you got to run. You going to do a special report tonight?
I think I will, yeah.
From the pool.
I think you should. We'll be watching.
From
Thanks
the
so
pool,
much.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be watching. Thank you, Brett. Good to see you.
Watch at 6 o'clock Eastern Time.